Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hello, I am Dr. Reagan Flowers, and I hope that you all feel welcomed because you are. I consider it an honor to serve as your keynote speaker for the 2021 Institute for CTE Educators. There is nothing like starting my day off with educators committed to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. To add a bit more clarity to STEM slash STEAM slash STREAM, when you add the A, you are then including art. And the R, you are then including reading. So, as an early pioneer in this space, I coined the term C-STEM. The C represents communication. I never found it necessary to add any more letters because for me, STEM is a way of life. It is how those subjects integrate to provide us with the answers, solutions, and innovations that we all seek. To me, everyone is an artist and an engineer, whether referring to STEM as STEAM or STREAM. It must be experiential, relevant, real world, involve problem solving, and yield tangible outcomes. I believe there's a little Da Vinci in us all. So in 2002, I founded CSTEM to inspire the next generation of innovators and thought leaders, and that mission is still relevant today. This was after building a ghetto fabulous robot to compete in a regional robotics competition, and yes, you can laugh. It was through that experience that I discovered STEM as a science teacher. I have been working in the STEM education space for nearly 3 decades, and I have never been more excited to no longer have to explain to people that CSTEM is not a stem cell research laboratory. We are not cloning children. And in the early days of CSTEM, we were inundated with those types of questions. The national footprint that CSTEM has achieved over the years has been largely because of two things. One, business partnerships, and two, having teachers buy in. Just as important as it is to have funding to achieve your goals, it is just as important to have teachers on board. With CSTEM as my vehicle, I have had lots of experience working at earning teacher buy in. Nothing happens as it should without teachers' commitment. What I have found to work over my years well with getting or gaining teacher buy-in, with implementing STEM programs and moving the work forward, has been making certain that teachers feel that what you are asking them to do takes into account all that they already have on their plate. And two, making sure teachers understand and know that what you have given them to do will make things easier and not complicated. In my experience, educators are happiest when they see their students thrive. I know I am. Educators teach to improve the lives of their students, and when they discover tools and resources that help make a difference, you have their attention. They will stay engaged, motivated, and committed to doing the work. Whether you are implementing STEM in your classroom, school building, or district wide, CSTEM was developed to provide four things. One, support. Two, resources. Three, training. And four, opportunities. All things that I needed when I was a science teacher. As an organization, we derive the greatest pleasure working with teachers who are leading in classrooms that are filled with challenging and enthusiastic students. Teachers who are working in schools nestled in some of the most challenging and economically depressed communities. Three, working with teachers who are demonstrating daily their commitment to STEM, the academic needs of Black and Brown students. And four, teachers who are open to collaborating with peers, and community stakeholders to achieve STEM teaching and learning goals. You all know quite well that STEM develops within students the overall skills they need to thrive, whether it's in the classroom or in the real world or in life in general. And when STEM is done right, students become self-directed learners and navigators. They have increased self-esteem. They become goal setters, and they develop skills as collaborators and team players. STEM done well advances their critical thinking and problem solving skills. And something that's near and dear to my heart is that STEM done well expands their communication skills, which is critical in that space. See, STEM is research based, and teachers and students are always top of mind in everything that we do in that effort. I am a lifelong learner, and I have always embraced the notion that to grow and change, it's not always easy, but it's necessary. And it requires work, commitment, and passion. Through CSTEM, our pedagogy thrives on the activity theory, experiential and thematic learning, creativity, and innovation. And with STEM, there is no step-by-step guide to follow, no recipe, no prescription, because STEM done well, done right, it's 100% project-based and problem-based. Every project solution represents the student's level genius in such a way that it is near impossible to demonstrate or measure on current standardized tests how they're currently designed. So just as we are having to evolve and adjust to the changes that are forced upon us by Mother Nature or a pandemic, how we measure the application of STEM knowledge and skills or determine pass or fail with our students, it must also evolve and it must also adjust. CSTEM was designed to help teachers, to help students thrive and be more successful in school and life, ultimately setting students up to be more thoughtful and productive citizens. And this is no different than those of you who have dedicated your work to CTE programs, and one in particular that offers 16 career clusters. STEM is but one of those clusters, yet I say that STEM is in all those clusters. So whether we are talking about advanced manufacturing or transportation, I would tell you that those careers offer STEM jobs. I find it very important to take the time to distinguish the difference between CTE and STEM, because that was also an important part of my journey. Early on in my career as a science teacher, I tried my darndest to fit STEM into wood shop, machine shop, and even auto mechanics, and it never worked. Those instructors would gently send me on my way. And then one day, the light bulb came on. It came on. I had that aha moment, and I realized that yes, high quality CTE programs, they offer project and problem-based learning, but they are more structured programs. Or should I say, very aligned secondary and post-secondary courses. And my STEM course at the time was not so much. CTE programs create pathways that support students in taking advantage of dual enrollment opportunities to achieve industry certificates and even associate degrees. And the work that I'm leading in STEM is not so much aligned to those types of courses. But I realized that STEM, it powers CTE programs to address real world challenges. And STEM has been quite successful in bringing more experiential activities into CTE programs. In some schools, STEM can be found just as easily in an ELA or history classroom as you will find in career and technology classrooms. So for instance, let's talk about robotics a bit more as a STEM activity. Robotics provides the perfect platform for students to team up, collaborate, and compete. Robotics is not a spectator sport, yet it is a sport to many students and teachers. And it requires students to use problem solving, creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and all sorts of technical skills, in addition to the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and in real time at competitions. My experiences with high quality CTE programs is that they are not driven so much by STEM activities, such as robotics competitions, as an example, but they are driven by the work necessary to keep students on a path to learning a trade or pursuing a post-secondary education, which is an essential ingredient to achieving college and career readiness for every student. So for me, it seems like STEM has made CTE sexier, not that it ever needed more sexying up. CTE programs have always played an essential role in preparing students for future education or the workforce. And as CTE educators, you all have never had to be convinced of the value of providing students with work experiences through internships and apprenticeship programs. I find it quite gratifying that the state of Tennessee has made available more than 20 STEM courses to students, along with 3 industry recognized certifications. You all are not just talking the talk, you are also walking the walk. I consider it a game changer when students complete high school with an industry certification or an associate's degree because it sets students up for success, meaning they have the knowledge, they have the skills, and they have the credentials to take advantage of economic opportunities. And in layman terms, money opportunities. This is how life is made better for families and communities, particularly for first generation achievers. There are those that say money isn't everything. However, one thing for sure, I know that money is a tool that makes everything possible. When used correctly, money is the tool that bridges the STEM achievement gap and provides the hand up that all students deserve. And this is indicative of a steadfast commitment to excellence along the pre-K through 12 continuum. An expectation with all of the elevated efforts in CTE is having data that reflects significant increases with success rates of students who have historically been underserved, Black, Hispanic, and low-income students. Only then can the rising tide lift all boats. More significant investments in CTE from the business community are well worth it and are vital to our future. This is how we ensure that equitable and high quality learning occurs and is how we build capacity. Often, one of the biggest hurdles a teacher can face at times is getting a student to understand and value how what they are learning in the classroom shows up in the world around them, how it applies, why they're learning it, why it's so important. In a case study I've read, Taking Business to School, a series called The Flight Plan to Success. This program allows high school students to work as interns while becoming certified as manufacturing specialists. This is just one of many examples of how the business community is helping close the skills gap and bridge the connection between industry and education. So we look at talent development and recruitment to STEM fields, and largely what many people don't consider, but it's true, that work begins in CTE classrooms, talent development and recruitment to STEM fields. Because it's in those CTE classrooms that teachers are deepening the understanding of students. They are identifying assets within the classrooms that will be great for STEM study and pursuing STEM careers. They are assessing resources and sharing opportunities and achieving strategic outcomes. But with all that is required to lead well in CTE, there are triggers that serve as reminders of how significantly important it is to take the time to reflect on instructional pedagogy, framing that reflective time around self assessment of instructional thinking and practices, examining whether methodologies are inclusive and culturally responsive, re examining teaching and learning evidence, and getting uncomfortable with examining our own implicit bias in our thinking and our doing. It is incredibly human to take reflective time. With all the distractions around us, we become our best selves when we are cognitively aware and responsive to the varied backgrounds, learning styles, and cultures of students and the communities we serve. My incredibly human journey in public education, particularly during my years as a high school science teacher, allowed me to see and feel the demand for change for teachers leading minority students in low income communities. Black and Hispanic students were being counted out of STEM, and I wanted them to be counted in because I knew what they could do given the opportunity. During my time in the classroom, I could clearly see that STEM provided my students with the opportunity to demonstrate what they knew, how they wanted to learn, and provided the experiences that taught them how to be team players and collaborators. I count it such a huge blessing to have been able to witness my STEM students develop over time. I watched them become better able to self manage and solve conflicts. They became better connectors with each other, their teachers, and with the day's learning. And I watched them demonstrate how they wanted to contribute to their communities and the world in a positive way. Right before my eyes, my students became better learners, better thinkers, and better doers. After a decade working for the largest school district in the state of Texas, I found it time to launch my social entrepreneurial career to help other teachers like me who wanted to reach more students, if only given the support, the resources, the training, and the opportunities. It is important to point out that STEM learning experiences, they are not feel-good activities or attempts at replacing academic subjects, state-approved courses, or academic pathways. Instead, STEM provides value add supplemental learning intended to close the loop, making teaching and learning relevant and real for students. The work you all lead in the CTE space is significant work. It is so essential that schools, community organizations, industry, higher education, and public servants work in tandem to provide the added dimensions to education, foster greater collaboration, support STEM both vertically and horizontally, to better integrate STEM across the pre-K through 12 continuum, streamline communications across boundaries, systems, and communities, as well as influence decision makers such that our decisions best align with the needs of our students, particularly the least among us. Change is consistent in the world we live in. Therefore, we must continue to provide students with the STEM skills required to thrive in a world that we created. There are efforts at play to create environments that students feel they can learn better in because there are people who look like them. Black and brown students thirst for teachers they can relate to, who they feel gets them, understands them. And that's true for all students, no matter the race. Students want to experience learning. They want to test what they have learned. They want to talk about their STEM projects. They want to work in groups. They want to work independently. And they want to write about their experiences, creations, and all of their innovative ideas. So as we continue to navigate the virtual learning environment, create new visions for the future and meeting the needs of our students, and continue to examine our commitment to excellence in education, we must make decisions that support diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI brings innovative thinking, removes creative boundaries, inserts different points of view, and brings a history of knowledge to the table. As leaders in education, we all know that having diverse perspectives helps us develop more inclusive goals as well as achieve desired outcomes. And with that understanding, I know that the STEM equity gap can sometimes feel enormous to close. And why is that? It can feel so enormous because we all have eyes and we can see the limited access to high quality resources and experiences. Many of you have lived the historical legacies you are working to fix. And for some, your efforts to achieve critical mass feels like you are climbing Mount Everest. Socialization for some of you in your school community appears daunting. The stereotypes and implicit bias seem to be deep-seated systemically for some of you. And when you look out at the STEM talent pipeline, it can sometimes appear to be fractured. However, with all that we know, with all that we have seen, and with all that we have experienced, it has never been a more vital time than right now to do the work that continues to affirm your commitment to excellence in education. So when you look at data that describes how Black and brown students are performing in STEM and in literacy, know that unless and until we help these students achieve academically, socially, emotionally, and economically, the challenges we continue to face in our classrooms, within our schools, and our communities will persist, will remain, preventing us from enjoying and celebrating diverse human capital as STEM employees and employers. Today's fast-paced occupations requires the skills CTE programs provide that you all are leading. The policymakers in your state, community organizations in your city or town, and business leaders who are seeking the talent that you produce, they need your input and your guidance in confronting and conquering the current skills gap and reconfiguring the education to work pipeline. So whatever you do, don't miss opportunities to lend your voice. And as I close, always know that we cannot predict the exact skills needed to succeed in tomorrow's jobs. So let's remember to be agile and to inspire a mindset of lifelong learning in our students and within ourselves. Thank you to the Institute for CTE Educators and the Tennessee Department of Education for this awesome opportunity. It has been a joy to spend this time with all of you.